Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. The major patch update 8.11 drops into the game yesterday with some big repercussions. The maps that are significantly changed, but so have many of the agents. Lots of reactions, certainly from Zekken, to the new neon buffs in the game. Her character now is incredibly strong indeed, maybe way too strong. Riot are even going to get involved in a massive bug that seems to be currently happening, where she is way too accurate in midair. Will this be maintained though? What does it mean for the meta going forwards? Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, a couple of roster things to go through. DRX, of course, getting ready to go for their upcoming stage. June the 15th, the Pacific gets back underway. They play Zeta, then they play pANcada, RRQ, Talon, and DFM to close out their stage. So, of course, they've got their new team now. They've made a couple of changes. They're trying to get better. Stacks, of course, is now long gone, and he's on his way to T1. So, looking forward to seeing how DRX fare, of course. The groups are now going to go intra-group rather than cross-group as they did earlier on. So, most of these teams have already played 6 games. They will now play 5 if they were in that group from now to the end of the stage. Big W as well for Miniboo here. Of course, he made the decision due to burnout and understandably other reasons with all that's going on in his life right now to not go to Shanghai with the team. They, of course, brought Patty in as a substitute, and they did very well, of course. Heretics of that tournament. They made a really good run. Sure, the teams they beat in hindsight, you'll think, well, you know, maybe they should have beaten those teams, but nonetheless, they made it to the grand finals. They were really competitive against Gen.G. They could have won it. Gen.G come out on top in the end, and I'm sure that Heretics will still believe, and even their coach Neil Zinio said before the grand finals, it doesn't matter what happens today, Miniboo's coming back in. He's part of our plans, and you know, that's just how it's going to go. And Patty will probably maybe even depart and go to a different team as time progresses because, you know, just the result he had and the performance was very impressive, and Heretics are saying he's too good to just be a 6th man. Miniboo, though, will come back in, and as he says, officially finished all of my exams. Hopefully I passed all of them and fully finished school, because if he has done, that's, you know, that's what he was looking for, right? And it's interesting for Miniboo that he could have taken the decision, as many other players have, to say, you know what, I can come back and finish school at some point. I'm just going to call it a day now and go and focus fully on Valorant. But he's managed to kind of handle both of them at the same time, and he thought, and probably understandably, you know what, I'll go through a few difficult months here, playing Valorant, doing school, finishing exams, and there will be sacrifices. But once he's done, that's done and dusted, the parents are happy, and now we can fully focus on this Valorant career, and it's probably going to be a very good career because of the way that he has started it. And if he passes all his exams, then he's going to be good to go, and Heretics will have his, you know, full attention, I imagine, from now into the future. A number of changes as well going on in the Chinese region. BLG, Bilibili Gaming, they've made a roster change. I think Trace Esports as well, they're making roster changes. So there's lots happening out there, potentially as a result of what we saw at the tournament in Shanghai, where FPX looked really rather good. In the end, they only lost FPX to 2 teams. They lost to Team Heretics 2-1, and they lost to Gen.G 2-1. So in hindsight, FPX will think, damn, maybe there was something to be said about that. Edward Gaming, of course, in region, they're still looking good, but internationally, it's not quite been the same. There was big drama as well yesterday. Just to quickly mention, I don't really follow the League of Legends scene to fully break down all the context behind this. But what we do know is that League of Legends, certainly North America, has been rather on the decline over the last few years in terms of viewership, and it seems like Riot have decided to, at least in some parts, replicate the Valorant format to try and turn this around. So they're going for effectively a conference structure, they call it, where it is pretty similar to what they have in Valorant with partner teams, guest teams, etc. So the LCS is the North American one, CBLOL is the Brazilian one, basically. And, well, I think the Brazilian League of Legends team was apparently doing okay, like rather well, and they're not happy with this now being separated. So there's now going to be a North and South conference of the league in the Americas. And I just, you know, I don't really want to comment too much on what that means for League of Legends and stuff. What I'm interested in is whether that could be something similar in Valorant. Like, will they split up the Americas into a North and a South conference? Because I think in Valorant, the Brazilian teams and the South American teams will actually be quite happy with this. There's a general feeling that because everything's based up in Los Angeles, it can be rather difficult for many of the talented Brazilian and South American players to come through and make a name for themselves just because of the way the scene is structured right now. So I just wonder if they've done that, at least something similar in League, whether they will replicate something like that, shall we say, when we get to the Valorant world in the near future. But let's talk about Loud, because they have effectively confirmed pANcada is now there. they said they were going to do an announcement. They actually only did this in the end, which, so we can maybe guess who this is here in the foreground, sign of the contract. We know what's happening here. We know it's a done deal. And even it was Sadak on stream yesterday that was saying, yeah, they've finally done their first practice with their new player. And, well, he didn't say who the new player was, but I think we know who the new player is. And basically saying that he was absolutely cooking. So he says, look, yep, the new player's in Los Angeles, absolutely fried in their practice. So the pANcada visa discussion that we had a couple of weeks ago now, thankfully for Loud, that situation now seems to have been resolved. pANcada's out there in Los Angeles practicing with the team, and honestly could be perfect timing for Loud's big run in the second half of the season to try and qualify to the World Championship and even go one better than they managed last year. But let's talk about this new patch, right? Because, I mean, there was some crazy stuff happening. Floor, by the way, hitting trick shots here on Abyss, new map that is going to be straight into the map pool, of course. It's going to be in competitive in a couple of weeks' time. It will be played by the pros. Of course, until then, it is already into the game. So these are all the patch notes. We saw them the other day. The ISO buffs, the neon buffs, big buffs as well, as we'll get into in a second. You know, the Reyna stuff, among others. So let's just look at Reyna real quick, because this was honestly even more of a buff than I thought it would be for her. So the Dismiss, as we can see here used on the Haven, is absolutely rapid now. And obviously, if you guys are also not aware, the ultimate now never runs out. The ultimate now lasts forever until you die. So this, like, look what you could do with this Dismiss. And there's loads of other ideas with this as well. I saw people using it on Abyss, where you can potentially jump around a corner, use, try and get a first blood or something, and then use the Dismiss to get away and like jump back round a corner even off the map. So there's loads you can do here with Reyna now to try and, get a first pick and then get away. You can actually be way more aggressive with her than you previously were. So that's pretty insane, I'm not gonna lie. And this, though, is the absolute insane thing that's currently in the game that Zekken points out on the Neon. So the Neon is now way faster. She's absolutely rapid. She regens her kind of run speed, charge, way far, her fuel, right? Way faster than before. And she's now more accurate while sliding, to such a degree that she is now accurate while sliding in midair. So this is what we see here from Zekken, who's just playing around with tens on the other side of the server, and is sliding out of the windows here on Haven, and midair just absolutely slamming this guy again and again and again. So look, even if she wasn't accurate while doing this, it's still incredible how fast Neon now is, and how she's gotta be, I think, a part of this meta going forwards. That's why Miniboo, I imagine, will be such a welcome return to the Heretics guys, because we know that he can run this agent well. Zekken, I'm sure, is going to be looking forward to it as well. I'm really interested to see, when the matches get back underway in a couple of weeks' time, what the meta looks like, because this, I believe, will be fixed. Coleman Palm actually said it here from Riot Games, or at least a product management lead on VALORANT gameplay, wanted to say, we're working on a fix for this. Aerial accuracy is not intended, but accuracy while sliding and moving is very much so intended, as long as you're not in midair. So this will probably go over the next couple of days, but the idea that you can slide around a corner at absolutely breakneck speed and still kill somebody is very much still a thing. So Neon is good, I think there's no doubt. The big debate as well, though, was on the map pool. Breeze is officially gone, to the delight of, I imagine, many that aren't especially a massive fan of this map. There have been some changes that Riot have made to it over the last couple of years. It's not, I mean, look, where they got rid of the alley, then they brought the alleyway back, and they've kind of been messing around with it. I'm happy to see Breeze has gone, to be perfectly honest. The big question, though, was on the Haven return, because Haven is now back into the pool, and they've not done anything at all with Haven. And this caused lots of debate, actually, because should they have made changes to the map? I mean, you can very much argue they could have done. Now, in my opinion, Haven is pretty damn perfect. I don't really know if I would want to change anything. There's probably a couple of things I would tweak, but I think in general, Haven is a pretty perfect Valorant map. There's nothing drastic that I'd think about. There are some people with ideas on what you could do with the B-bomb site in the middle of the map there, like whether you could even open it up from the rear to allow another entrance for the defenders. Like, that would be a pretty sizable change, but it's something that might be considered. I don't mind they haven't made changes, but I will say that I'm surprised that they haven't, just because when you take a map out of the map pool for that long, it's an expectation that when it comes back in, it probably will have been tweaked to some extent. But no, it seems like Riot are making a case that no, look, we are just going to take maps that are perfect, or like we believe that they're finalized and as good as they're going to get, and we're just going to rotate them in and out. Like, we're not necessarily going to make changes. It's like Dust 2. You're not going to see, apart from a couple of years ago there were some changes, but you know, generally Dust 2 isn't going to change much in Counter-Strike. It's going to be the same map, and it's sometimes going to be in the pool, sometimes it's not. That, it seems, will be the case for Haven, maybe for Ascent as well, because at some point Ascent is probably going to get rotated out, and I think the expectation might be, well, they might make a change or two to it, and we'll see what happens when it comes back into the pool. But they might not. There might be a few maps that Riot are convinced, you know what, that's as good as we're going to get it, and therefore they're just going to rotate them in and out. So there was some discussion though, because T-Dog here says some QOR, no changes, kind of implying that not so sure about that. And as FNS says, no changes, and Som doesn't seem so happy either. Maybe it's kind of tough to say, are they happy, are they unhappy with it? But they seem surprised, to say the very least. And I will say that, like, as a casual player, you know, it's kind of annoying that Haven was taken out for seemingly no reason, right? Like, you know, Haven's a great map, would have been good to play it for the last couple of months. But no, they, you know, not able to play it because it's out of map rotation, but they were just taking it out for basically no reason. So, but anyway, they've changed it now in Valorant, where you can play like all the maps basically, or at least you can choose between all the different modes what you want to do. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.